Hey there, YouTube land. Big Dave here. It's Sunday. And I got a couple messages from different people about mouthpiece refacing and things like that. So I thought I'll make a video and show a couple things. I already have other videos up of me working on some mouthpieces. And you have to understand two things before I get into this. Number one is there are, just like any other thing that you're doing, there are a number of ways to do something. You can follow various schools of what goes on. I'm a little more old school, and I don't use a lot of automated equipment because for the purpose of what I do, I don't need it. All I'm really doing with the mouthpieces that I work with is making some corrections. I'm not manufacturing mouthpieces, and I'm not doing large volumes of production. I can sit with a mouthpiece and use the same tools I used 30 years ago. I don't need anything else but that. I can work with the glass, sandpaper files, manual rulers, feeler gauges, and all that other stuff. I don't need to get into automated equipment and all that other stuff. The second thing is, we all have different ways that we operate. You know, some people they go to great extents to make sure that, like, the table is absolutely dead flat no matter what. Other people are meticulous about how they finish the side rails and polishing, and the tip rail and polishing. And I'll do that in another video. I'm not going to talk about that right now. Today I'm just going to concentrate on, is the mouthpiece flat or not? And how you can deal with that if you need to. But the polishing and file finishing opposed to sand finishing, hand finishing, polished finishing, that's all other stuff. It's subject to various opinions. Anyway, so let's just look at a mouthpiece. Okay, if somebody brings me a mouthpiece, or if I have a mouthpiece and I'm going to check it out, the first thing I'm going to do is just look over the mouthpiece. And I want to see how the rails are finished, if they're really thick. Now, these kind of bevel and they get thinner as they go up, which is kind of good. The window looks nice. Then I look to see how the baffle is shaped. A baffle that's uneven, you know, can make the mouthpiece squeak. The next thing that I'm going to do, which is probably the most important thing, is to see what condition the table is in. This is where the reed sits. And again, there are different opinions about this. So the way you can check to see, there are a number of ways. I know people that do this with oil and liquid, and they use all kinds of tricks. I just do a couple of flat edges, just as if I was doing a guitar, but I don't just have one, and I'm going to show you right now what I'm talking about. I have any number of straight edges, starting with this one, which is a this is like a brass caliper. And now here's the interesting thing. It's not the outside that's flat on this, even though I might use it for a quick eye up, but this is not what's flat. What's flat is the ruler that's inside. When I take the ruler out, the little ruler that's inside is the thing that's really super flat. So I will put this against the facing of the mouthpiece, and I'll look to see in the light source to see if there's an air space or what it looks like, how flat, and I'll measure and I'll look around on the different parts of the table to see what it looks like. Now this thing is quite flat, and I can see there is, I'm going to try to get it to do it because it's not that much. No, it's not even going to hardly show it on the video. But in this case, this is a pretty flat mouthpiece. So there's very little to show. This is a Yamaha 4C. And this sample, again, this is really important. This sample happens to be quite flat. Now, I'm not just, even though I know I'm going to, like, I'm used to this tool, and I'm comfortable knowing that this is going to give me a pretty good result, I have other tools also that I like. For example, this particular ruler, I've tested out in various ways, and I know that the edge is very flat on this. So I will drop this on here to see, and again, look around. And the space is so slight, and I'm trying to get it to show up. You can barely see that there's anything happening here. So this is quite flat. If I wanted to make it absolutely almost like perfectly flat, I would have to put it onto paper, sandpaper, and it could be very fine sandpaper, like super fine, 1000 grit. Could be like, normally I use 400 for a lot of stuff. So, and I have also that I can carry around with me. I have several pieces of glass plates that are also absolutely flat. Now, there are machine grade blocks that you can buy in a machinist store. I used to have one, I got rid of it. It's good depending on the grade you buy. If it's like a AAA grade or whatever, and they're very expensive, it's good to down to about 0.0001 thousandths of an inch. They certify it and all this baloney, right? I've had that. I got rid of it because here's the thing. I don't really have much of a use for it. Again, I'm not manufacturing mouthpieces. I'm just making some corrections. So for me, I don't need that. And even when I go out in my kit, I'm not carrying it. It's so heavy, it's ridiculous. So the thing is that I have gone through, let's say, painstaking trouble to make sure that I have pieces of 1/16 inch glass that are flat. Not all glass is exactly flat. Some of it has, little things in it. But if you go to a glass shop and the guy there really knows what they're talking about, which I used to have access to, but right now I don't. But I have enough glass so I don't have to worry about it. You can get yourself some glass plates that are absolutely, as flat as you need for this purpose. And then only on 3 edges, I fit a piece of paper. Now, I change this paper often. It depends on what I need to do with it. If I'm just dressing something up, I don't need to change this paper. If I'm doing some kind of really precise, critical thing, I'll put a brand new paper on here and retape the board. I have other ones. No, this is not the only one I have. I have other ones. And they have different sized papers on, and they sit on a shelf, and I could just pull it off and use which one I want. So that's how I work. However, you can use this plate to flatten this mouthpiece. And I'm not going to get into this so much today, but the idea is when you're going to flatten a piece, normally you're going to pull the piece. It's a little hard on this video to see. Normally you're going to pull the piece lengthwise, and then you go back and you put it on again and you pull it lengthwise. Now, the old school technique was to use a one finger, and then if you needed to bias one side or the other, which sometimes if the facing is uneven or the rails are uneven, what the real problem is the table is not set. So the mouthpiece is going to measure uneven. Then you go and you check the table and find out the table's uneven. Once you fix the table, it may only be 2 swipes on the paper. The whole mouthpiece is now straight. So before you start with all that other stuff, you got to check the table. The table is like the most important thing to start any of these mouthpieces. That's my opinion. Look, somebody else may say, oh no, it's this and that. So what? Whatever they say, I don't know. You know, I started doing this in 1975, I guess. I refaced my first couple mouthpieces, Brillhard Level Air, rubber auto links. I opened up a couple auto links. I had a whole bunch of metal ones I used to work on. Then I was refacing Berg Larsons for people who were in the polka business because they wanted a little more free blowing and more brightness. I used to go to New York and buy boxes of garbage mouthpieces. I used to take the bus, get boxes of just garbage, and take them home. In my parents' basement, I had a very big table that had a glass top on it. And I had places marked out on that table that were absolutely dead flat. So I didn't even use that. I used to tape the paper onto the top of this big glass table. Now, I didn't have a board like this. This was a big, thick glass top table that was huge. It was a huge table. And I had sections where there was absolutely, I checked it with a carburetor plate, a machined carburetor plate that was also dead flat. And I used to actually use that carburetor plate when I did really open mouthpieces. I could work with that. So anyhow, let me just move this 1 second here. And I'm going to just show you something else. All right, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to stop this video because you know what it is? Once it gets to like almost 15 minutes, it shuts down. So this is part A. We'll have a part B just shortly. All right, so you go back, click, and you'll find part B, and I'm going to show you a couple examples on some mouthpieces, and I'm going to let the cat out so she's not sitting here scratching like crazy while I'm doing this video. But you know what I will do? I'll actually show you the cat while I'm doing this, right? Because that'll make the video more interesting. So, where is she? Is she down there? Oh, there she is. Yeah, see? Now she stopped because she knows like we're looking at her, so she stopped scratching on the glass. Okay, I'll be back. Part B coming up.